welcome to the fifth episode of the NextGen Africa, a groundbreaking podcast by the Kevin Winter Foundation, dedicated to inspiring changemakers for the next generation of Africa. I'm your host, Fortune Winter, founder and president of the Kevin Winter Foundation, a U.S. nonprofit with the mission to support the education and training of youth in Africa. Our guest today, Dr. Charles Eromosele, is a distinguished human resource and capital consultant with a passion for people-centered development. He holds a bachelor's degree in microbiology from a university in Nigeria, Usmanu University, and is currently pursuing a PhD in coaching methodology and leadership. As a certified international coach and certified digital skills lead trainer, Dr. Eromosele brings a wealth of expertise to the table. His professional journey includes roles such as management consultant at Mary, Nigeria, where he trained over 3,000 secondary school students in career development and leadership. Dr. Eromosele experiences span various sectors, including digital marketing, leadership coaching, and community development. He has served as national facilitator at Global Priority Solutions, implementing ethics and value reorientation programs across Nigeria. His recent roles include IBO recognition and communications manager at Provision Global LLC in USA and human resource consultant foundation. Currently, as a management consultant, Dr. Eromosele assists clients in recruiting, training, and managing personnel while also conducting corporate training sessions. His diverse skills set and commitment to excellence makes him a valuable asset in driving organizational growth and sustainability. Welcome, Dr. Charles. We're excited to have you join us today.
Thank you very much, Fortune. Glad to be here.
That's quite a bio. I think out of all of our guests so far, it's pretty impressive. I'd like to start to share, just to give some context for our audience about your background. If you can share a little bit about your story, perhaps your upbringing and how it's influenced your perspective in life.
Okay, thank you very much, Fortune. Away from the bio, one of the most important thing I think I stand for, it's one keyword that has to do with empowerment. And so I grew up. My story is actually quite very funny because, like you read in the bio, studied microbiology. But before then, growing up as a young kid, I'd always wanted to, or not, maybe I always was influenced to want to go to medical line to become a medical doctor. So I remember very well in my primary school days, which I think you call, I don't know what you call that in the US now. So I would take this back to school and I will have first aid materials in the bag, just anticipating that anybody gets injured so that I could treat. So I just embodied that word right from that very early stage. But growing up, I began to have this inclination to maybe it's not really medicine. Maybe it's not really to become a medical doctor. So yes, I should care for people, but maybe not with a blade or with a dissection knife. Maybe it's actually what I do presently. And so that's actually how I veered 360 from sciences, which I was actually quite very good at. And I came into what I refer to as human capital development. So it's not really been an easy journey because we live in a country, or we live in a continent that believes in, certain kind of professions. And so having to tell my parents that I'm not going in the science line, my dad had always ready to build the biggest lab, and all that, but I just was not for that. I've been looking back over the years. I'm really so grateful that I came into what I'm doing right now. And it's not really necessarily for the financial value. It has been more for, adding more to lives. And why do I say adding more to lives? I was on radio in a particular city in Nigeria for about 6 years, I think. Yeah. So every Monday, every Friday, I'm on radio. So if there is maybe kiosk out or something in town, I'll come to radio and talk to people and maybe get the entropy a bit down. But most particularly, I would want to note about 3 or 4 occasions that for some certain reasons, either maybe I'm downcasted or something, I won't go for the radio program. And people would call me and say, Charles, we didn't hear you today. And particularly, there were this class of individuals. Now, these were people that were suicidal. Um, there were people that just didn't have any direction for it. So imagine someone calling you or send you a message, because I'll normally drop my number after my radio program. Someone give you a call and say, thank you. What you said saved me from taking my life. So at that very moment on, fortunately, I must be very, very truthful to you. From that moment on, I knew that whatever I was doing wasn't just for the job or for the career. I knew that it was life giving. Someone called me once a soul lifter, and I believe that's just the word. So, in as much as the business world gives us the enablement to give all those titles, business consultant, management consultant, the best form of leadership for me, or the best word I would like to be called, is just a soul lifter, someone that helps people lift wherever they are from here to here. And it has, coming to the business field, it has helped me to see business from a side angle. Because a lot of people want to see the complexities or operational management, risk management, all that. I try to make them understand this is simple. All people just want to do is to be served. So if you can take the complexity and make it simplified, it just helps you. So not to say too much, I think maybe that's just a little bio that yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'd love to, that's getting into your background story, gives people insights into, um,
Mm,
what brings you to where you're at, the level that you're at now. And as you
yeah,
shared about this, is very interesting how, the you've motivated and you, as the words you use, soul lifting, um, people who are down and out and they feel there's no hope, nothing to look forward to. That's pretty impactful. And I think that alone makes you more excited to go to work every day and,
oh, very,
to
very
continue
true.
doing the work that you do. Not to
Yes.
mention all the entrepreneurs and business, and professionals that you also help in the work that you do as well. That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Getting into, the concept of human capital development. You have an extensive background in human resource and capital consulting positions, which give you a unique perspective in addressing challenges and opportunities in the
yeah.
developing world and in Africa, the workforce in Africa. How can the African organizations better invest in their human capital to drive sustainable growth?
Okay, okay. Thank you for that question. Two things are actually very important. I believe that if every organization, every individual that is an entrepreneur or business person must, first of all, more than any other thing, must be driven by a vision. And we are only driven by 2 things in life. You're either driven by a vision, and vision is that you can see the future and you can go towards it. So, for example, if I think that my future is to become a doctor and serve people as a doctor, I have to see the future of me being a doctor. First of all, I need to go to school, go to medical school, and that's the process. So the same thing also with anything that we're doing. And what have been my guiding principles is that if you're not driven by fish. And it brought me to a particular business model that I use whenever I'm training in a business school. I call it the visional approach and situational approach. So I think our leaders and businessmen or people that are within the policies for regulating business and the marketplace need to now begin to understand visional approach to leadership. Vision looks at how to better the lives of people, or what we refer to as human resource or human capital. I am of the strong belief that Africa is not known for its natural resources. We are much more known for our human capital. And so, if every organization understands that if I have a staff now, it's not necessarily my company, it's their company as well. We all need to unite together, build team dynamic, and work together. I think everybody will begin to see things differently. So, the staff, like you said, people would be able to go to work much more happier, knowing that they are not just seen as a tool but they are an integral part of whatever the organization is into. So I'm very big on helping marketing and management executives see the fact that if you treat these people with a bit of respect, they will definitely give you. Have had situation, fortunately, you won't believe this. I've had situation a company is going through tough time and they can't pay salaries, but they still have staff that would still want to work irrespective of the fact that they've not been paid because they've come to a point where they see themselves as a part and parcel of the organization. So human capital development or human resource is actually really quite wide. And why am I saying this? We also need to now also look at it from a national transformation point of view. If the president understands that, or not, should I say the president? Okay, let me zero down to maybe Nigeria right now. If the president understands that every single Nigerian is a part and parcel of the organization called Nigeria, we would understand that the core responsibility that everybody is looking for is leaders. And I believe in the definition that leaders is not about getting followers. Leaders is about development of leaders. Because if you don't have the capacity to develop leaders, you're going to want to be that one superstar up there that has quite a number of followers. But unfortunately, that is what a lot of our organizations have done. That's why right now, if I give you things like Nigeria right now, we're talking about minimum wage and they are categorizing it into monthly systems. Whereas I know in the US and some other places, it's more like on the hourly basis. People calculate their earnings per hour. So there's quite a whole lot of things that I believe if we truly now begin to look at leadership development for our staffs, leadership development for every part and parcel of people within our organization is going to help a lot. And then most importantly, not just from the top to the people we are leading. The people also being led also need to also have a vision for themselves. Don't become part of people that get into an organization and you're meant to be maybe an operational manager, you're meant to be a finance manager, and you are the first headache of the organization. So if they also go to organization with the fact that I am going to serve, and this is what I teach, I have the opportunity to run me staff training. I tell them everything you serve in right now is just a microcosm of what you are supposed to own later on. So let's take, for example, I'm a marketing executive in an organization. I want to do so well as a marketing executive there for three reasons. Number one, if tomorrow I decide to leave the organization to start up my thing, I'm going to get the best recommendation because I would have been tested and trusted by the firm. So I'm not with a bad record. Then two, at the end of the day, that's what we refer to as customers that know me. That's now my social capital. So they can any day, anywhere they see me, they know, oh, this guy stood for excellence. So now that he has his own organization, we can work with him. And then the more thing as well is that when you're able to take your CV recommendation out there, you know that you now become part of the most wanted people, most wanted people, in the world out there. So quite a whole world of difference if people only learn to live their life with vision, do their work on Mondays to Friday with vision or and answer with heart and serve with understanding that I need to have a vision over every single thing I want to do, basically.
Wow, that's so impressive, and it resonates with me because even part of our own program at the Kevin Winter Foundation, we developed Project Rise, and in that it's a skills training. I think we've talked about that before.
Yes.
One of the fundamental principles that we actually stole from Donald Miller. You might have heard that name. He has a book and several books, but the concept of a value-driven professional, and that's the concept that we're trying to instill into the youth that go through our programs, to be able to, when they're learning a skill and then they want to practice that skill in an organization, they want to bring value to the organization, not just fill a role.
Yes.
So they're able to, the concept of 5xing. So whatever position you're filling, you should be able to bring 5 times the returns for that business within the span of your the year working there. So you're bringing value, and so I think that's a wonderful concept, and especially for the leadership. And I think going back to especially Nigeria, where I also have been, from, we see the struggles of the ethics and leadership
Mm.
and
Yeah,
values that can really be able to make a difference. So as we consider the critical role of the ethical leadership in nation
yeah.
building and fostering positive change in the communities, what how can African businesses balance the profit-driven goals with the ethical practices and social responsibility?
Yeah, I like that question. First of all, one of the mistakes made by several organizations is putting maximization ahead of customer relationship. I believe every organization who truly pays the bills or pays the salary, it's not the executives. Who pays the bills and and the salaries are the customers. So if people have that mindset that you don't place profit before you place people, I think we'll now begin to give more attention to creating systems that will help these customers become secondary marketers. And I've tested it in my own organization. And this is what I do. Over time, we were not really big on marketing. What we're big at is customer satisfaction. So that when our customers are properly satisfied, they become our secondary marketer. So we have almost a 0% budget a lot of times on marketing because we have our customers singing our praise. And we got to a point where we started drumming that into their ears and letting them understand that, please, would you take our word out there? We are ready to do 2 times what we promised we're going to do for you, and that revolutionized a lot of things about our business to a point that when people call us today and ask, oh, Charles, we wanted to build this website, and Charles, we want to do this social marketing system for us or build this for us. The only thing we now tell them is just go look at what we've done. If you like it, then we can start. So we don't now have to start singing our praise over and over again to them. And then secondly, talking about ethical leadership, what we started doing over the years is to find like what a surgeon would do in a surgery. Where is the problem actually coming from? So when it comes to ethical leadership, what we did was you see that in my resume as well. We worked with a US-based firm called Global Priorities.
Mm.
So they came to Nigeria, and the singular goal was to see how they can train leaders at the top. So they came. I was privileged to be part of the team. So trainings were run for the military, paramilitary, people within the media, top management executives. The plan was to stream it from top to bottom. So what were we doing? We had 40 major principles that we believe that if people begin to give at these values, it's really going to get them reoriented for where Nigeria needs to go to. So we had 4 principles broken into 10 modules, and each module, the first one was self-government. And what was that about? If you don't govern yourself well, you can't lead others. So we had
Yeah.
10 principles that addressed, individual attributes that they need to learn, skill sets, personal management skills. And from self-government, I think we moved to management, and then from management, we moved to productivity. Then from productivity, the last thing we taught, the last 10 modules talked about leadership. So at that point right now, you now understand how your leadership grows beyond you into your microcosm, into your team, and then how it influences, the whole world. And we've begun to see positive, testimonials from different people that were able to impute this into their home. Where we had a challenge is that, like the normal typical Nigeria, everybody just wants to leave it at the top and it never streamed down.
Yeah.
So what we started doing with the youth, you saw in that system, I thought to myself, we'll start taking it from bottom to up, because today's followers or today's people that we lead are morals leaders. And it becomes much more troubling in a country like Nigeria, or let me just use the Africa. I'm sure you know by now that by 50, we're going to have 950 million people
Yeah.
birthed into Africa, which now takes us to about 2.5 billion. In Africa alone, 60% of the youths, 60% of the population of Africa is below the age of 25. So massive potential. Why I said our national resources and our human potential. So the more at the end of the organizations now also now need to now start demanding from the government. If we can have better PPPs, what we call private public partnerships, we want to begin to see communal centers, youth development centers in different. I know we're talking about staffs, organizations, but I'm taking that into the youth system because every organization will now need to understand how to employ today's generation.
Yeah.
One major problem, why do I say that we need to have communal centers in each local government, is because there are so much potentials that are still untapped. And if we want to go by the educational model of wanting our youth to go through the system of education right now, the system of education doesn't have anything that has to do with commerce. Doesn't necessarily have anything to do with business. People have to finish university and then go do a master's, do a business course. You can now begin to, little by little, introduce that into the curriculum. It will save our organizations heavily, because what is happening in a place like Nigeria now, I'm privileged to do HR for certain companies. What we now discover that people employed in an organization, you still have to spend a lot in training them, because the CV only help them get into the organization, but they don't have the skill set yet. So a lot of organizations are spending quite a lot on training. But if we can solve it from the grassroots level, educationally, giving them some of this within those communal centers. Let's take, for example, Kevin Winter Foundation. You have a profit arm, that grows. You're doing $1 million every single month. An organization like yours now should be able to set up, sponsor maybe a youth community somewhere with computers, So there's so much that we have to do. But again, they also need to empower these organizations. Every small scale or small medium enterprise needs to be empowered. So, and then lastly, also another thing that we need to do is access to financial facilities as well. As you may know, a lot of Nigerian business would that do very well, they don't have financial inclusion. It's quite sad. It is. So if the people that can, like, I am of the strong belief, Fortune, that in Nigeria alone, the average mechanic, or what you call auto repairer, can actually develop and build a car if he has the right system that can teach him about that. Because these guys in my presence have pieces cars and they put it all together. So why don't we have the system? So what am I trying to say? We have actually underrated the African market, and the African market for it's not been what's the energy that they have is actually not being harnessed. So for me, if our organization have been able to think about this and now think about, and then another thing I wanted to address also, organizations also have been forced to only just training some of this workforce on just, things that has to do with the organizational development. So their personal lives are not included. And I'll tell you this, I got fortunate to train, I think it's like in the financial sector, that was about 3-4 years ago, or maybe 5, if I should be exact, 4 years ago. And for you won't believe this. Do you know that our organization run trainings on customer satisfaction and customer management, CRMs and all that? But 6 months to when you want to retire these staffs, that's when you're now teaching them on financial management. So a lot of these people are truly become a tool in the hands of a lot of organizations. So if we're really going to change the dynamics, we need to begin to understand that these are human beings that have families. They leave their work every morning, close late. And a lot of dads right now, a lot of moms don't have relationship with their children because they are giving their time to an organization. And the organization doesn't even care for them to be able to introduce things that will actually develop them. If you notice what I'm indirectly saying, the growth in our organization will definitely happen if there is that symbiotic relationship between top management, middle management, low management, and make them understand that they are part and parcel of the growth of this organization. And then lastly, so I'm giving a long answer. Lastly, we did a research recently and discovered that organizations that have lasted for the last 50 years to more than 50 years, what kept them going is that they had a system that actually created this or respected that symbiotic relationship where different generations were able to hand over to different generations. So the most problem, why some of the organizations today in Nigeria, the SMEs may not survive, that we have that the owners are baby boomers, and they have forgotten that they are in a generation called the Alpha generation right now. We still have the Gen X, Gen Y, and they need to begin to change the systems of we are no longer in the third industrial revolution, which believes in massive employment, and
Yeah.
all that. We are now in a technologically driven generation where if you don't learn to respect these people, it's happening in Nigeria right now. Most of the
Mm.
financial didn't feel that they need to pay some of the IT engineers as good as they should pay them. So what's happening right now? A lot of them which is resulting to brain drain. A lot of them are getting opportunities in the UK, in Canada, in the US, and they are leaving. And right now, the IT system for most of the banks are actually collapsing. Why? Because the brains that should run those things, they are no longer there. So to reduce brain
Yeah.
drain and to help people to be able to serve our organization better, we need now to begin to build symbiotic relations, make them see themselves as part and parcel of our organization.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Charles. I feel we're getting so much value from just even the first half of this this conversation. I'm sure those listening feel the same way. A lot of guidance, both from the organizational perspective and from the leadership perspective. And then you brought it right back to the youth themselves. And you mentioned skills training, and you have a lot of experience in the digital skills world. What do you believe, uh, for those youth listening, what digital skills do they need to focus on for them? What what digital skills should they is crucial for them to acquire in
Okay.
this in their education leading up to the business?
Okay. Now, it's very important. Like I said in the beginning, purpose, where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. I became what I became in the digital marketing world, not because I learned that in school. I became it because I had an organization and discovered that since I don't have financial inclusion and it's going to take me time to break even, what I first of all started doing is to start learning skills that are very important for my business to grow.
Mm.
And in learning to do that, I began to build excellence. I began to build mastery, and now I become a professional. When never went to a computer school, but there are students of mine right now, some in the United States, some in UK, some in Nigeria, that I am teaching some of these basic skills. So the world has gone beyond the educational institution right now. So our youth now need to begin to understand that any part of digital marketing is actually a key part that people are looking for. First of all, how do we know this? A lot of them on social media, they know some of these basic skills. So talking about not complicating the process, it's just simple things to do with social media. Social media, like I say, it's just that we live in a world that puts some big titles on these things. Social media manager or management is just simply your ability to understand what Meta or Mark Zuckerberg has been able to create and learn, okay, this is what this is for. This is what stories are for. This is what reels are for. This is what posts are for. This is how I can apply AI into work. So just learn those basics and enjoy the learning process. When learning becomes complicated, that is where our problem lies. So areas that if they are going to now begin to now increase in their learning are beyond social media marketing, social media optimization, and all that. Things that they want to start learning are things that has to do with mobile app development. I wouldn't say web app. Web app is good, but you want to immediately follow up web development with maybe UI UX designs. You want to follow it up with mobile application, and then you want to get to learn a lot about artificial intelligence. We live in a world right now where in the next 10 years, a lot of skill set that we have right now will be totally gone. So people now need to give their attention to AI enabled skill set. Then you want to advance, let's say you want to look at maybe business analyst, you want to become a data analyst, you want to look into cybersecurity, because that's cybersecurity right now is going to be a major cash cow for a lot of people. I'm presently doing a course on cybersecurity. Why? Because notice that people are becoming concerned with the IT, where the IT world is going with big data and all that. So a lot of people are going to want to become the reds or all the bad people, when it comes to finding a way to hack into systems and the rest. So important, about cybersecurity, ethical hacking, and quite a lot of things. So my challenge is not even about the compartmentalization of digital marketing or the IT base. It's more of the fact that people should just enjoy doing it. Just today, I
Yeah.
got to learn that in the last, I think, 1 week or so, Mark Zuckerberg introduced to Facebook and Instagram, 5 different things were introduced where you can use AI to actually manipulate certain things. And people still don't know about that. But I am beginning to now apply that into my personal work and then teaching my team also to apply that into. So someone sees my work and say, wow, great guy, amazing. And they don't know that these things are available there. You just need to have an appetite to learn. So I would say strongly
Mm.
digital marketing, anything around social marketing management, how to schedule posts, go into the neighborhood. There's quite a lot of small scale organizations out there that don't know these things, and they will be willing to share their profit with you if you can tell them, okay, I'm going to take you up I'm going to try to get more customers, I'm going to create more traffic to your page. All I just need a bit of what you do. I'm going to create 1 minute video, so maybe I'll take 1 week and we'll take 1 week and roll out maybe a 2 hours video and break it, and then we have content for a whole month. So just it's
Yeah.
more about what people can think with their mind and create than what we
Mm.
teach them to do. And then most importantly, there are a lot of opportunities right now people don't seize. Beginning of this year, I told a lot of people I have been a mentor with the Tonulumelu Foundation right now. I think for the past
Uh,
should I say 4 years? Yeah, and it's so annoying, Fortune, when you tell a lot of youngsters, come and be part of this. And they drag their feet without knowing that if you get this, you're going to get the knowledge base. You're going to understand how business work. On top of that, you're going to get 5,000 US dollars, which is hard to get in the Nigerian economy. In short, one
yeah.
was actually quite very protected for me. I had a business meeting. It's an entrepreneur program. I think it had to do with wealth generation. And a manager of a bank that knows what I did, likes what I do, I know that it's going to be very impactful. He said he was going to pay for 20 people. Fortune, guess what? I told my guys, I said, okay, go talk to your friends and let them come for the meeting. Guess what their friends were saying? Is there going to be item 7? Item 7 in Nigeria is, when you have item 7 is the place you have refreshments.
Uh,
Where you eat the snacks, drink the mirror.
yeah.
Our youth were they were more interested if the program had refreshment than they were interested in what was going to be taught. Secondly,
Wow.
a particular state invited me. I was part of a trainer for Google to train on digital marketing. We train youth corpers around the nation, and then this particular state, I think I had close to about 5,000 youths to train in a very massive hall. And so if that particular state is divided into two, and stuff like that. And I told some people, go to this particular community that I know they are heavily disadvantaged when it comes to this skill set. Tell them to come for the meeting. Fortunately, they didn't come. They didn't come. And then tomorrow, people would say the government is not working. People would say, oh, this is not working. Whereas when the opportunity came to seize that, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So beyond just us knowing what our youth needs to do, they also now need to start developing the right appetite. I used to say it like this. You are going to have appetite for entertainment than you have appetite for education. And the danger in the next 3 years, Fortune, right now, is that we are beginning to master the art of storytelling. We are beginning to master the art of content creation to a point where if the average youth gets to Facebook, you would not know when you stay on Facebook for 5 good hours because the content are getting much more enticing.
Yeah.
So if you don't learn, if you stay watching other people's content on YouTube right now, like you're watching us right now, and you never think that someday we need to watch you because you've built your educational facet, you've built that educational compartment of your life, where are we going to? Where are we going to?
Mm.
In a nation that's going to be 2.5 billion by 2050. So our youth now need to get their priority right. Give more time to education than you give more time to entertainment.
Exactly. That's wonderful. I feel like we're peeling back this conversation like an onion. We started, big and we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper to the
Yeah.
truth, the essence. And this, really it's a remarkable And I didn't even, a lot of the things that you said, I wanted to ask questions about, actually. I had them lined up to ask. And you already just started going through them.
Oh,
You made
I'm
my
sorry.
job
I'm
easy.
sorry.
No, no, I'm saying you're making my job easier.
Okay.
It saves time for the viewers. They
Yes,
can
true.
hear you talk about it right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so going back to that, you started this conversation in the beginning talking about the impact you're giving, especially to those who are depressed, and not just that's just one category of listeners in your radio program, but we've circled back talking about the bigger organizations and what
Yeah.
they should be thinking about. We brought it deeper into even what the types of skills that could be done, and you talked about the education.
Yeah.
And for you mentioned an important point. You're giving people the opportunity to learn. You're giving people the opportunity to have a potential door open up in their life to something bigger
Mm.
than where they're at. And
Yeah.
the question in their mind is, what's in it for me right now? Not, they're not seeing beyond that opportunity, that doorway. They're asking immediate. They want immediate gratification, immediate,
Mm.
and that's the type of society that is being developed.
We had.
It's
Yeah.
We're looking for immediate,
Mm.
you
Mm.
know, stress relief or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so when I look at other when I look at other countries that didn't have, they came from a really underdeveloped nation. For instance, South Korea, it was
Mm.
occupied by Japan. The
Yeah.
population was very impoverished, and
Yeah.
in many ways could be compared to other developing nations, which for one reason or another are in their situations. Um, and then you look at South Korea now, and it's blossoming. The economy has
Different.
just
Yeah.
grown.
Yeah.
And when you go there, I don't know if you've had the opportunity, but from my experience, you see, it seems like everybody has something going on. Everybody is busy.
Mm.
Everybody's they're
Yeah.
focused on work
Yeah.
and contributing value. How do you instill that in a population? And I know that Nigeria has a sense of that already. Everybody is looking for opportunities. How do you get them off, out of their house, out of the mindset that they're stuck into that world that they already are in, to want to
Mm.
be an entrepreneur, to want to get,
Mm.
out of their situations and go
Yeah.
show up for those kinds of educational opportunities for beyond just having the snacks,
Yes.
but getting the education. What
Yes.
should they be
It's so.
thinking about?
Yeah. I think for that, it's so good you talked about the Asia, which if we go back to history, you would know that these people were quite poor
Mm,
several decades ago. And it took, let's take, for example, Singapore. It took a great leader like Lee Kuan Yew that wrote the book From Third World to First World. That is a book that revolutionized my thinking when it comes to true leadership. So what Singapore was able to do was not to worry about who was bigger, who was greater. They were more interested in learning how the world works. And so when it comes today it's so sad. I don't want to talk about the Nigeria. Singapore came to Nigeria and they took palm oil, for research. But right now they are one of the biggest producers when it comes to that, and quite a whole lot of things. So what am I trying to say by that? It starts with leadership. We first of all need to have the right role models. Today's youths are much more in tune with superstars in the music, in the showbiz, and everybody wants to get out there and sing. Everyone get out there and do stuff, and nobody's really thinking about value creation, which has to do with creation of actual products and services that can help people pay you better. So I think first of all it starts with role modeling. We now has to now be the role model for the people that we really want to come on board. People have right now, a country like Nigeria, and I want to believe the rest part of Africa is dealing with, the what they refer to as Yahoo boys. In other words, people that have now started doing illegal, using the internet the wrong way. Why? Because they have seen a lot of profit from that. So when you see in a country where the leadership is not systematic to be able to identify trigger points, identify peer pressure and a whole lot of things, what you do is that parents leave their children to now be endangered in the hands of what they see. So parents now need to, from parents, down to guardians, to a lot of people that are in control of this, you now need to control what they are giving their attention to. Fortune, if I see a guy, if I'm a youngster and I see a guy with all the bling blings, he's not done his masters, but yet he has the latest Benz, he has money, and then most annoying for me is at the end of the ladies and women, females are being sexualized. So at the end of the day, one sign of a success for most young men is to see at the end of the day he has about two, three ladies. So if the only way we can get rid of such nonsense is if truly we now begin to have role models within our different. That's why I'm really, so when you told me, I was really, God knows, I was really quite glad and happy at what Kevin Winter Foundation is doing, because when these people get these skills and we train them to go back to their community, they are going to become the role models there. I have a particular story like that. There's a guy that came to my organization. This must have been maybe 8, 9 years ago. He didn't have a good command of English. His parents or his family wrote him off because he sounded like a non-entity. He came to my organization. I picked him in and I made sure that he read a book, I think, every week, and told me what he learned from that book. Over the years, as I speak to you right now, that same guy right now, he's just doing his master's right now. He's married, has 2 kids. He's a
Wow.
accomplished farmer. In his community right now, they look up to him as a role model. And guess what? If I never do anything in life, that story alone is part of my legacy that I will always be proud about. So that's the same thing I see that you're also doing with the foundation. So the more people we are able to, on our own little capacity, train, and let out to the community, the more light we're throwing out. We There's no time to wait for government. If we say we're waiting for our government to get it right, we may wait for the next 20 years. I was in a podcast and I was asking them a question. By 2020, by 2050, when the population of the country is 2.5 billion, how old would you be? Would you be in control? No. Your child today that is 5 years, by 2050, he's going to be maybe talking about getting married. So if we are not empowering this future that we see, if we don't have the vision to see this future and empower them, then we are endangering ourselves. I worry a lot right now. I look at my kids and I'm asking myself question. If I don't create the right foundation for these kids, somebody is going to give them a different picture of the future and they're going to run with it. So it's a call to responsibility. And why am I saying this? To answer the question from back to front, is every single youth now needs to understand that you're not going to be a youth forever. Whatever you're doing right now is in the seed form. If you don't do it the right way, if it's not the right thing, if you don't do it the right way, you're going to have a terrible future. You're either going to land in prison, life imprisonment, or you're going to be in a camp somewhere and then you've lost your mind and all that. Or you can be that responsible person that we can look in your community in Soweto, we can look in your community in Johannesburg, we can look in your community in Abuja, Lagos, or wherever it is, and people can count on you. So the question is not about what we want for them, Fortune. The question is that the person listening to me right now, what do you want for yourself? It's as simple as getting a diary right now and writing, in the next 10 years, I want to be like Tony Robbins. In the next 10 years, I want to do the African version of Meta or Facebook. I want to do our own local. I want to do Facebook that is not English based, but it's maybe Hausa based, Yoruba based, in French based, my language based. We can do it. So it's first of all helping them to craft a future of themselves. What do you see? Because if you don't see it better than I can see your future for you, you're not going to feature in it. So the question is not even us telling. We can only help them with giving them a reason for. I'm where I am right now. It's so sad, unfortunately, for me to say this. I still have guys go to work from Monday to Friday. Sure, there are some of them that are couples. If you put what both of them in from Monday to Friday as staffs in an organization, it's not up to what I aid as an entrepreneur that knows how to build mastery in what I am doing. So at the end of the day, I don't need to find people. People find me. So that's the same thing people need to start thinking about. Don't wait for people to give you flowers. Like I know we lost recently at Kennedy, but like I think that's the President Kennedy actually said. He said, "Don't wait for." Oh, was that Kennedy that said that? He said, "Don't wait for what your country can do for you, but what you can do for." I
It might
hope
have
I'm
been
correct.
Reagan, but I think you're on track. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
don't wait
yeah.
for them. Yeah.
Yes, don't
Mhm.
wait for what the country can do, but what you can do for your country.
Yeah. Exactly. This is so uplifting, and I'm sure I really hope all the listeners that are listening feel the inspiration. Already myself, I feel like I want to jump out of the seat and start doing more, you know. Um, but I think you're absolutely right about the not only the mindset that they need to have, but it's also about the daily habits. You know, what kind of
Yeah,
habits you mentioned immediately they should grab pen and paper and write down their goals. You know, what do they want
yeah,
to accomplish? And I
yeah,
think really, you know, in the day-to-day life, everybody gets built up with whether it be stress, distractions, or bad habits
yeah,
that take them off course. You know,
yeah,
that and you've mentioned the analogy of taking charge and being a captain of your life. And so I'm just curious for you, when you're in those situations, when you see yourself getting off track, when you see
mm,
yourself being distracted from the goals that you're trying to pursue in life, what goes through
yeah.
your mind? What are your rituals that bring you back on track?
Oh, okay, okay. You're very right. Every leader has their pain points. Just like we also know superheroes, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, they all had their weak spots, you know. And for me, what I've learned to do is to ensure that I build an environment of mentorship. So I'm either mentoring someone or someone is mentoring me. So I am never want to become this, top guy that doesn't have anybody to reach that can reach back to me. So at my low point, what I do is I ensure that I speak to the right mentor within that particular thing that I'm dealing with. And then, permit me not intending to do any marketing. I have been using this is something we started doing recently. It's called the Strategic Life Planning Notebook. Um, we have an online version for this. So what we started doing, we noticed that, this generation are more in tune with their phones. It's not like our generation. Fortunately, we had the organizers. If you remember, organizers, we had, we're big people on diaries and the rest. So I've been able to simplify that. I have reminders. It could be a sticker on my laptop, a sticker somewhere in my office that reminds me, Charles, you need to do this, or Charles, you need to do that, or Charles, today. So what happened when I noticed that I have shortcomings with regards my responsibilities or things I need to do? What I do is that just like they do in school, that if you fail a course, what do? You carry over. So I learned to
Mm,
punish myself by ensuring that I carry over the responsibility I didn't deal with last week. I carry them today. And until I'm done with that, I can't go anywhere. Why? I have people that I'm leading. How do I tell them how to coordinate their life if I can't even coordinate mine? And then the next thing I also do is that I make sure I have accountability partners. Now, my wife is actually strong in some areas that I am not. So what I learn to do is learn to get her informed about every area so that if I am now developing weakness in that area, I am sure that I have someone that will call me to order and say, hey, Charles, you were going to do this, or you're lacking in this area, and stuff like that. And I'm also building that habit right now in my social media marketing. So I learned to do things that may not be easy to do because I'm a workaholic. I learned to find the right quadrant to do those things. And then let me give a particular example. Recently, I started getting into this habit that I teach my people to do. Ensure that within every 24 hours, every single week, you give 2 hours to income generating activities. It's a no excuse 2 hours. In short, even if the president of the United States was going to come within those 2 hours, I would not answer. Why? Because that 2 hours is my important investment for my future. In other words, if I do 2 hours every week, that's 12 hours already, half a day for the entire week. And that is enough. And the more we keep on doing that again for the next 5 years, there is no how that I'm not going to become among the top 1% of the 1% in my field and in what I do. The same thing with my books as well. I ensure that I even if I can't read a full book because of work, I try as much as possible to read at least a chapter. And then another thing I started doing recently, and I give a lot of people the secret for free, is majority of my books right now, majority of books that are actually key bestsellers or New York bestsellers or books that we know about. I personally right now have the audio versions so that I'm driving, I'm
Nice.
listening to my book. Yeah, I'm
Nice.
doing something that is strenuous. I'm listening to my book. So there's no that excuse that I can't pick a book and read. No, I now can listen to my book. So there's quite a number of things. But top of them all is ensure that you have a mentor that can serve as an accountability partner for you and call you to order. That is actually very key for me.
That's wonderful. I think that's spot on, and I agree with that 100%. Just from reflecting on my life and the
Yeah.
challenges that I face and having those types of people in my life, my mentors. I like that you mentioned your wife because my wife as well is a great accountability partner for sure.
Yeah,
Even when
also.
she's out of town right now, but she still calls me to make sure I'm accountable to.
That's cool.
um,
That's cool.
that's wonderful. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can people either contact you or get to know more about you? Where would you direct people that would like to know more?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, there are websites. I'm very big on social media. So if you type in my name, Charles Eromosele, you're going to get me on social media. Most importantly, people that want more for my books, interviews, podcasts, whether it's TV or radio, you're going to find them on my link tree. So just go to linktree / Charles Eromosele. You're going to get that. Then for my organization, I hope my website, because they're doing some renovation on it. My organization is Business Zone. Business as in BIZNET zone.com.ng. So you also can get some information about me there. And of course, lastly, you can always contact my friend Fortune if you want to reach me. And I sure I'm just one step away
I'll put
from
in a good word.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Definitely. We'll make sure to put those information as well in the
Awesome.
description of this video.
All
One last
right, all
thing,
right.
we have a tradition where we ask each listener or each guest a question from the previous guest, and
So,
the guest, not knowing who the next guest will be, asks a
oh
question for
wow.
the next guest, and it continues
Cool.
on like that. So our previous guest asked, what obviously in his realm, what key challenges are preventing African youth from capitalizing on opportunities presented by the ongoing tech revolution in Web3 and AI, and what steps can be taken to address these obstacles?
Number one, I would say a lack of exposure. The African youth is not exposed to the right information, and a lot of time because they are not exposed to the right information, they have a particular mindset on what. For example, most of them are more acquainted with Ponzi schemes, and then a number of things. I believe you heard about the Amstar revolution, and stuff like that. So that's actually what a lot of them are exposed to, as opposed to being exposed, to things that have to do with a whole lot of tech revolutions. There are free courses around that Google have. There are free courses that Facebook have. There are free courses that every single organization have. But lack of
Mm.
exposure have not helped them to, be able to be part of that. And then secondly, the government of the day, sorry to say this, the government of the day has also weaponized these youths for gangsterism, for thuggery, and a whole lot number of things. So it's a lot of our youths just see education, any form of education, as a waste of time. So if we can begin to redirect their mind, help them with new pictures, our exposure also helping them, tell them about the beauty of life. There's a beautiful part of life outside the village that you're in. So the more they get exposed, and that's why I also believe in exchange programs. For example, if I had a group of youth right now that we're training, it will be my joy someday to say, okay, Kevin, can we have more people from the Kevin Winter Foundation exchange knowledge with the people here, and the people here exchange knowledge with them? And so at the end of the day, we now have a globalized view, not just a view of my village or her village or his village and all that. Yes,
Wonderful.
that's my I think that's my take.
Wonderful.
Eh,
Is there,
yes, and
go ahead.
okay, and then my question for the next. Wow, this is a tough one, but I love this challenge. So my question for the next guest will be this is a tough one. This is a tough one. Okay,
If
my
you,
question.
I was going to suggest if you want, you can take your time to think about it and text it to me later.
Oh, okay, that's
um,
fine. That would be great.
if you
I'll
want
just,
to.
okay,
Do you
okay,
have,
great.
before we end, do you have just a final comment to the listeners? We have a broad range. We've got donors of the Kevin Winter Foundation from,
Okay,
outside of Africa. We've got listeners within Africa. Just anything you'd like to say, a message
okay,
for the listener.
okay, okay. My last word basically would be treat every day as if it's your last. And the reason I say that is that I don't really believe in long speeches. Everything I've said has been great, I believe, and has been impactful. But it is not about me. It is about you, the listener. In the last 1 hour or so, what can you take out that would add to you? If you are a youth, that's something you could take out. If you're a donor, if you're a sponsor, that's something you can take out. It could be maybe taking out the part of going back to your organization and loving on the staff that you may have been seen as a tool. So that's something to take out. So my most important thing is that we need to give our attention to this kind of program. And most importantly, don't just listen. Can you share this and help another person to benefit from what you've heard? If we don't do that, we are not doing the best thing to build society. So first of all, you want to share this to as many people as possible to get them acquainted with what we're doing and let them hear the right thing that can give them the exposure that we're talking about, give them the knowledge base, and also help make the world a better place.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Charles. I really appreciate you coming on today. And
Thank you very much.
God bless. Take care. For the listeners,
Thank you.
please don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. And we look forward to our next guest coming on. Take care.